It was a typical afternoon in the quiet suburban neighborhood. A street gang looking for trouble, and an elderly lunch lady just going about her day. But what they didn't know, this wasn't just any lunch lady. She wasn't your average kind-hearted grandma. She was a retired CIA assassin with a past as dark and dangerous as they come. When the gang decided to mug her, they had no idea they were stepping into the lion's den. What started as a simple robbery quickly turned into something much more deadly. As she's cornered, they realize too late that they've made a grave mistake. But will she be able to escape the chaos, or will the ghosts of her past come back to haunt her? Stay tuned to find out. As the gang closed in, the lunch lady, Marissa, felt her pulse steady. She'd been in far worse situations before, ones where life and death were separated by a breath. Her days as a CIA operative were supposed to be behind her, but those skills, they never truly fade. They're like muscle memory, lying dormant until they're needed. The leader of the gang, a brash young man named Tyler, sneered at her frail appearance, thinking she was an easy target. His mistake. What he didn't know was that Marissa had trained in some of the most dangerous fields of combat and espionage the world had ever seen. She could take down an entire room without making a sound. The question now was, would she even want to? The gang circled her, their taunts growing louder, more aggressive. Tyler's voice was full of arrogance. "You think we're scared of an old lady? You don't belong here, Grandma." He sneered, his hands twitching, eager for a fight he thought he could win. But behind his bravado, there was a flicker of uncertainty, an inkling that something wasn't right. The others, a mix of young rebels looking for quick cash and thrills, seemed to follow his lead, though some of them were clearly uneasy. Marissa's eyes flicked over each of them, noting the positions, their nervous ticks. She could hear their breathing, could almost sense their fear. She might have been out of the game for years, but instincts like these never died. She knew they had no idea who they were dealing with. The soft jingle of a chain from one of the gang members made her heart rate tick upward, but only slightly. Her mind was elsewhere, back in the days when her missions were always high stakes, when people's lives were on the line. Back when she had to be fast and ruthless. Now she was different, more peaceful, content with her quiet life. Yet every muscle in her body was silently screaming for action. She could end this in seconds if she wanted to, but something held her back. Was she ready to go back to that life? The ghosts, the constant threat, did she want to invite that darkness back? More importantly, could she? She had retired for a reason. She had left behind the coldness, the lies, and the bloodshed. But then she looked at Tyler again, his cocky grin twisting into something darker as he stepped closer, a knife glinting in his hand. That was when she realized maybe it wasn't just about her anymore. Maybe it was about protecting the innocent. Maybe she couldn't turn her back, not on them, not. "You're out of your depth," Marissa whispered, her voice low, like a warning in the calm before the storm. The others hesitated, unsure of what to do. Some of them had seen enough. They took a step back, but not Tyler. He pulled with all his strength, trying to free his knife, but Marissa had him trapped. The street was silent for a moment, except for the sound of her steady breathing, his panicked grunts, and the distant hum of a car engine. Then, as if everything in the universe held its breath, the tension snapped. And just like that, everything was about to change. Just as Marissa's grip tightened on Tyler's wrist, a loud asterisk crack asterisk echoed through the alley. For a split second, she thought it was the sound of bone, but no, it wasn't Tyler's. It was the sound of a gunshot. The gang froze. Marissa's heart skipped a beat as she whipped her head around. From the shadows of a nearby doorway, a new figure stepped forward, tall, with a dark jacket and a face hidden behind a pair of mirrored sunglasses. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos unfolding around them. Without a word, he raised a sleek black handgun, aiming it directly at Marissa. "Let him go," the man said, his voice cold, almost mechanical. "Now." Tyler, still struggling in her grip, let out a strangled laugh. "Who the hell are you?" The man didn't respond. Instead, he took a slow, deliberate step forward, the gun still trained on Marissa. Her mind raced. Asterisk-O is this guy, another threat, or an alley asterisk. The gang's nerves were on edge now. Some of them looked back and forth, unsure of where to turn. Marissa knew this wasn't just about the mugging anymore. This was something bigger, and the stakes had just gone up. The man wasn't here by accident. He had to be connected to her past. There was no other explanation. A chill ran through her. She hadn't been this exposed in years. "Marissa," the man said, as though he knew her name. His tone was laced with an icy recognition. "You should have stayed out of it." Tyler, still oblivious to the danger around him, shouted in frustration. "What's going on? Who are you people?" But his voice wavered now, fear starting to creep in. Marissa's mind was already calculating her next move. Asterisk, stay calm. Think asterisk, she had to play this carefully. She knew how these situations could spiral out of control in an instant. This wasn't just a random street confrontation anymore. It was a warning. Whoever this man was, he wasn't here by coincidence. Suddenly, Tyler, still recovering from the trip, reached for the fallen gun. His hand was shaking, but he was getting desperate. Marissa realized in that instant that she was running out of time. With the gunman still recovering and the woman aiming at her, she knew the window to escape was closing fast. But just as the woman's finger began to tighten on the trigger, there was a loud asterisk crack asterisk from the end of the alley. The woman and the gunman froze, their eyes snapping toward the source of the noise. A car screeched to a halt at the far end of the street, its headlights blinding. The door swung open and a third figure stepped out, a man with a familiar, unmistakable silhouette. It was the last person Marissa expected to see. It was her former handler. "Not so fast," he called, his voice sharp and commanding. Before Marissa could process what was happening, the woman and the gunman immediately dropped their weapons and backed off, retreating into the shadows as quickly as they'd appeared. The car's engine roared to life, and within moments, it was gone. Marissa stood there, stunned, her mind still racing. Her handler approached her slowly, his expression unreadable. "You know, you were supposed to stay out of this, Marissa. We told you that." Her pulse was still pounding, but now a new flood of questions filled her mind. Asterisk why? Why come after me now? After all these years, asterisk. The handler reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, folded envelope. He handed it to her without a word. She took it, her fingers trembling, and opened it. Inside was a single sentence. Asterisk, the past is never truly behind you. They know you're a live asterisk. Marissa's eyes widened as the pieces started to fall into place. The ghosts of her past were far from gone. They were still out there, watching, waiting. And now they knew she was still alive. Her handler's final words echoed in her ears as he disappeared into the darkness. "This isn't over, Marissa. Not by a long shot." And as the night swallowed the street once more, the true game was just beginning. Marissa stood alone in the alley, the envelope in her hand, the night air thick with unanswered questions. Her past, long buried, had just come crashing back. The game wasn't over, far from it. She had thought she could leave it all behind, but now she knew better. The people who once controlled her, every move had never truly let go. As she walked back to her quiet home, the weight of it all settled on her. There would be no more